The story began 300 years ago when the Wool of Heaven appeared. Countless secret kingdoms and dungeons descended to Earth, bringing with them numerous powerful demons who proclaimed the apocalypse for humanity. After the initial chaos, the Awakened emerged. The Job Changers possessed powerful abilities that helped them defeat those monsters and save the world from near destruction. To continue the fight against the monsters, the Job Changers explored the secret kingdoms to obtain wealth and materials. Nations worked hard to cultivate these Job Changers, allowing everyone to awaken at the age of 18. The day arrived for students turning 18 to awaken a class. To do so, one had to touch a magical blue crystal. Several students touched the crystal. Wang Wei, a third-year student from Class 2, failed to awaken a class and was labeled as a student without a class. Meanwhile, Lai Wei from Class 3 of the same year successfully awakened the Swordsman class. Wang Hao, from Class 3 of the second year, successfully awakened the Crafter class. The awakenings were usually divided into 3 categories according to their class: combat, support, and creation. The combat category was the most sought after, while the creation category, associated with those who couldn't fight, was considered the weakest and was despised by everyone. Several more students touched the crystal. A student with purple hair became elated as he awakened the combat category called Magic Swordsman. Conversely, another student became despondent and started crying because he had awakened the creation category, which was not suited for combat. After the awakening ceremony, the classes were also divided into 4 categories: common, secret, and divine. Among them, the divine rank was the rarest, appearing only once every 100 years. It was now the protagonist's turn, Jiang Chen, to touch the crystal and awaken a class. As he touched the crystal, it began emitting a powerful light that astonished the other students. A brown-haired boy pointed at Jiang Chen and declared him the prodigy of the academy. Another student suggested that this was a sign of an extraordinary awakening. As Jiang Chen touched the crystal, it emitted a powerful light that shot rapidly towards the sky. The students speculated about the rank of this class, with several guessing it could be a divine class, since SAUCEsy had not produced a divine talent yet. A powerful light formed a giant tree in the sky, visible from every corner of the city. It was said that whenever a divine rank class awakens, a phenomenon occurs that can shake the heavens and the earth. Moments later, the class awakening was successful. Jiang Chen, with one hand on the crystal and the other in his pants pocket, simply stared at the sky. At that moment, Director Wang appeared, approached Jiang Chen, and congratulated him for being the pride of the school. Although he knew that Jiang Chen could awaken a combat class, he did not expect him to awaken a divine class. After saying this, Director Wang asked Jiang Chen which class he had awakened. Jiang Chen turned his head slightly towards the director and appeared somewhat surprised. With a smile, he explained to Director Wang that the class he had awakened was not a combat class. Upon hearing this, Director Wang was shocked. With a surprised look on his face, he began observing Jiang Chen. Realizing that Jiang hadn't awakened a combat class, he inquired if it was a divine class. Jiang Chen replied that he had awakened a support class. Turning his body towards Director Wang, Jiang Chen extended his hands to the sides, and plants made of spirits materialized in his palms. He announced to everyone that he had awakened the creation class of divine rank called Spiritual Master. He further clarified that this talent was designed to aid in the growth of plantations and small creatures. Upon hearing this, both the director and the others were taken aback. With a look of surprise, the director began to scrutinize Jiang Chen and lamented that this was unfortunate because the creation class lacked combat capabilities, rendering even a divine rank as considered ineffective. The professor accompanying Director Wang encouraged Jiang Chen not to be disheartened, pointing out that even if he couldn't fight, he could at least be safe. He elaborated that spiritual masters were highly sought after in the research field. He regretfully informed Jiang Chen that the recommendation he had previously promised was no longer feasible. He suggested that Jiang Chen pursue a career in research, as he could secure a letter of recommendation for him. Just as the professor was about to continue, Jiang Chen interrupted him. Turning his head toward the professor, he expressed his gratitude with a smile. He put his hands in his jacket pockets, and while walking away from the professors, explained that he had something to do. One of the students started laughing, and told his classmate that this was a farce, as he had thought Jiang Chen had obtained some kind of divine combat class. but it turned out to be just a creation class. The other student put his hand near his face and told his friend that life was full of surprises. He also added that everyone thought Jiang, the prodigy of the academy, would awaken a combat class. And now, no matter how he excelled academically, he would be considered useless. Jiang Chen put his hands in his pants pockets and began heading towards the exit, while the students nearby started mocking him. One of the students told the others that this was quite enjoyable to watch, as Jiang Chen had been the king of hard work since he entered the academy. Another student told the others that he had worked so hard only to end up getting a creation class. Another student mentioned that Lin, the school beauty who always came in second place, had awakened a secret combat class. Upon hearing so many jokes, Jiang Chen simply smiled and thought that just a moment ago, those two students had been very cruel to him. He hadn't expected that awakening with a creation class would change things so drastically. Reflecting on this, he had no doubt that in this world, only strength mattered. He began to wonder what was wrong with the creation class, so he reached out his hand, and a system window appeared above the palm of his hand. According to the system notification, Jiang Chen had successfully completed his class awakening. He had awakened the class called Divine Rank Spiritual Master, and the conditions for opening the natural Calamity Insect System had also been fulfilled, with the initial Mother of Insects being unlocked. Jiang Chen turned his head to the side, and as he stared at the system window, a smile crept onto his face. He couldn't help thinking that this class was a perfect fit for him. Our protagonist's name was Jiang Chen. After his demise, he found himself reborn in an awakened world. Following the end of the Dark Era, the world became overrun with various monsters and dungeons. It was from that day forward that the world opened up. Now filled with monsters and dungeons, it began to respect only the strong. Reborn as an orphan, he was determined to survive in this harsh world. Despite having nothing, he gave his all before reaching the age of 18, believing he would have to rely on his own skills to make a living. To his surprise, a month prior, on an ordinary day, a system window materialized before him. It informed him that the Insect Calamity System would merge after class awakening, and the system would activate following a successful transfer. Jiang Chen, hand on chin and gazing at the system window, noticed a strange figure. He mused that the insect race, which had once brought humanity to its knees during the Dark Era, was an exceptionally powerful race. He recalled hearing that during the last natural calamity, 9 of the 12 human kings were sacrificed to seal it away. Clenching his fist tightly, he reaffirmed his belief that in this world, strength was paramount. There was no room for doubt. Fixated on the system window, his body radiating a formidable energy, he was convinced that if he could harness the strength of the insect race for himself, they would stand no chance against him. Without further contemplation, Jiang Chen activated the system and found himself teleported within it. He looked around, somewhat bewildered. As he peered ahead, hand shielding his eyes, he realized this was his own sea of consciousness. Before him stood a grand spiritual tree. This sight led Jiang Chen to ponder if this was his talent, though he hadn't anticipated it would take the form of a tree. As more system windows popped up, he discovered he possessed several class talents. These talents were the evolution of all things, and they required sacrifice. These abilities could be utilized once every 10 days and were restricted to a single use per target. The first talent was named Fruits of All Things. Through sacrifice, Jiang Chen could enhance the maturation process of fruits, and a special fruit might randomly drop. The second talent was termed Improved Growth. This skill enabled him to boost the growth rate of living beings by 10%. Utilizing this ability, Jiang could expedite the development of all living beings, with a cooldown period of 8 hours. Jiang Chen rested his chin in his hand as he surveyed the system window, contemplating that this system was advantageous since it had proactively analyzed his talent. Although these talents appeared to lack combat capabilities, each could be integrated into his system. While he was preoccupied, a system window emerged, inquiring whether he wished to initiate the summoning of the Fruit of All Things. Affirming, he requested the system to summon the Fruit of All Things. Instantly, a malevolent energy surged from the earth, and a system notification materialized, announcing the summoning of the Fruit of All Things. As Jiang observed the energy, he sensed the potent aura of the fruit. Moments later, Another system window notified him that the summoning of the natural calamity rank mother insect, known as 9 Wings of Miasma, was successful. The insect mother was an immense entity. She fixated her gaze on Jiang Chen, who recoiled in awe. The status window for the insect mother displayed her name as 9 Miasma Wing, titled the Sovereign of Death from the Abyss. Once a harbinger of calamity, she had wrought a disaster on par with a natural catastrophe, and then vanished during the Third Era. Her current devouring value stood at 0%. Jiang shared a 100% affinity with the insect mother. He needed to commence the devouring process and begin cultivating the next generation of insects to unlock new abilities. The insect mother approached Jiang, who marveled at her colossal size. She gazed at Jiang and acknowledged him as her master. Introducing herself as Little Nine, she expressed her intense hunger and desire to consume fierce beasts. Subsequently, another system window appeared, indicating that the insect mother's growth rate had increased by 10%. Now, Jiang could use a sacrificial object to enhance his target. The first enhancement would not require any sacrificial objects, nor would the second. The third enhancement would also follow suit. Jiang slightly raised his head, and as he looked at the system window, he realized that since he didn't need a sacrificial object, there was no time to waste. Without hesitation, he commanded the system to upgrade the insect mother. The body of the insect mother began to shroud itself in a potent green light. While Jiang observed, he understood that she needed to devour to level up, indicating she wouldn't be easily satisfied. The insect mother's body started radiating a formidable aura, prompting Jiang to quickly adopt an offensive stance. Gradually, the insect mother evolved, taking on the form of a human woman. Moments later, the evolution was complete. Emitting a powerful aura, she now had white hair and donned armor. With a fierce gaze, she fixed her eyes on Jiang. She slowly advanced toward Jiang, and a system window materialized above her head. The Queen of the New Plague had undergone a crucial transformation and leveled up, acquiring new abilities in the process. The first ability, named Nurture, allowed her to share her experience tenfold with the host. The second, Poisonous Mist, enabled her to transform into a deadly miasma that corroded everything. The third and final ability, Communion, empowered her to enhance all the host's abilities by 20%. Witnessing the insect mother's new form, Jiang was taken aback. The mother insect surged forward and embraced Jiang. She introduced herself as Little Nine and expressed her intense hunger, desiring to devour flesh and blood. As Jiang stroked her head, a status window appeared above her. Her name was revealed as 9 Miasma Wing, and she possessed 4 abilities: Poison Mist, Feed, Fury, and United. Her current devouring value was 0, but once filled, she could begin spawning offspring. She also had 2 passive abilities: Experience Return and Attribute Enhancement. As Jiang caressed Little Nine's head, he contemplated how the spiritual master talent could expedite the insect mother's devouring and experience growth, thereby hastening his own progress. Moreover, the insect mother could boost all his attributes by 20%. Jiang's class and this system were indeed a perfect match. With this revelation, he realized he didn't require a combat class. Extending his hands, insects began to emerge from his palms. He gazed at them in wonder, knowing that with swift killing and devouring, he could soon command an army of insects. Jiang turned his attention to the great spiritual tree, pondering the system's message about insects, the abyss, and a calamity of immense proportions. Armed with this fragmented knowledge, he understood that revealing it could be perilous. Discovery could spell his end. Jiang placed his hands in his pockets, and as he gazed at the spiritual tree, he resolved to use his class identity as creation and the insect mother's poisonous miasma abilities as a guise to devour monsters and bolster his strength. Concealment was not in Jiang's nature. He aspired to amass enough power to flaunt his abilities to the world. Lost in his musings, he noticed the consciousness water beginning to stir. The insect mother reacted swiftly, leaping into the air and taking flight. As they both observed the water, Jiang surmised that it signified only one thing. In that instant, the insect mother, with a menacing expression, turned her head back, drawing Jiang's gaze. While looking back, she cracked a smile and confided in Jiang her sense of impending danger. At that moment, Jiang departed the system's realm, and, upon witnessing the scene before him, was taken aback. Standing there was a man towering over him, with black hair, a beard, and a scar across his eye. The man approached Jiang, locking eyes with him in a prolonged silence. He then inquired if Jiang was responsible for the awakening phenomenon that had captivated the entire city. As Jiang met the man's gaze, he gritted his teeth, recognizing the man's stature as at least that of a master rank or higher. Alertness washed over him as he pondered the man's intentions. Meanwhile, the man, with an intense stare, began to radiate a potent green aura. Onlookers drew near, and despite the distance, they could sense his overwhelming presence. Speculation arose among the crowd about the man's level of awakening. Observing his interaction with Jiang Chen, they speculated about a potential conflict. The man's unwavering gaze made Jiang increasingly uneasy, as the man's silent pressure was unnerving. Was this a test? Just then, the insect mother materialized. Licking her finger, she moved closer to Jiang. Her nervousness was palpable. She eyed Jiang with a mix of curiosity and concern toward the man, warning Jiang of the man's threat. To her, the man seemed appetizing, and she expressed a desire to consume him. Jiang's anxiety spiked, sensing that something was amiss. His apprehensions were validated as multiple warning alerts from the system surfaced. The insect mother had identified a danger to Jiang. The system assessed the man as a high-value target for devouring. The insect mother was poised to commence her feast. Jiang's aura intensified, radiating outward in all directions. He swiftly recognized the gravity of the situation. Little Nine had sensed a threat and was on the verge of attacking. Jiang's chilling aura reached those who had once mocked him. They shielded their faces, bewildered by Jiang's newfound sinister presence. Overcome with rage, Jiang fixed a deadly stare upon the man. He understood that a low devouring value heightened the insect mother's aggression. To avert a confrontation, he needed to locate monsters for Little Nine to consume. Upon witnessing the powerful aura emanating from Jiang, the man simply smiled. Seeing this, Jiang quickly deduced that the man sought to test his strength, but had inadvertently activated the insect mother. Fortunately, Jiang was still capable of suppressing her. Without delay, he subdued the insect mother, and a system window confirmed the action. He had temporarily restrained the insect mother, ensuring her devouring value remained low to prevent future incidents. Jiang knew he must commence with the devouring and breeding of the insect mother without delay. As the man casually placed his hands in his jacket pockets, he observed Jiang and offered congratulations. Despite Jiang's recent awakening, he had managed to withstand the man's tests and even mount a counterattack. The man declared Jiang worthy of a divine awakening and suggested a boundless future lay ahead. Jiang remained silent, absorbing the words, relieved that his true nature remained concealed. Approaching the man, Jiang inquired about his identity. The man revealed himself as Jai Geng, the leader of the Night Watch, and extended a hand in greeting. He expressed admiration for Jiang's strength and extended an invitation to join their ranks. Jiang was taken aback, not anticipating Jai Geng's affiliation with the Night Watch. Tasked by Grand Xia to combat demons and beast hordes, the Night Watch was the vanguard against waves of beasts and the exploration of new realms or dungeons. Despite the high mortality rate deterring most, Jiang saw it differently. The insect mother required a steady diet of monster flesh and blood to accumulate devouring value and spawn offspring. Jiang needed the chance to face formidable monsters. Once the devouring value was fulfilled, the insect mother would begin reproduction, the extent of the ensuing chaos unknown. Thus, the untamed wilderness presented an ideal breeding ground for the insect mother. Indeed, the wilds were well suited for nurturing the insect mother. As long as Jiang joined the Night Watch, he could easily manage the risks associated with devouring or reproducing. While observing Jai Geng's extended hand, Jiang couldn't suppress a smile, recognizing that the Night Watch organization was an ideal fit for him. The students murmured about the Night Watch's notorious mortality rate, suggesting that most people avoided it, and speculated that Jiang Chen would likely decline to join. In response, Jai Geng offered Jiang a forced smile, dismissing the rumors about the Night Watch as relics of the past. He assured Jiang that, should he agree to join, he would receive thorough training, Given Jiang's divine rank, his resources were deemed highly valuable to the Night Watch. Without hesitation, Jiang grasped Jiang's hand, addressing him as leader and indicating no further explanation was necessary. Jiang locked eyes with Jiang, declaring that their generation must embrace their duty to restore the Night Watch's former glory. He affirmed his willingness to join. Jiang, taken aback by the revelation, was unaware of Jiang's ulterior motive to utilize the Night Watch for insect breeding. Surprised, Jiang sought confirmation of Jiang's intentions. Before Jiang could respond, the mother insect materialized, bombarding Jiang with system notifications. She expressed her fury, discontent with Jiang's decision as she yearned to consume the man. She conveyed her hunger to Jiang, who, feeling anxious, closed his eyes and reassured Jiang of his sincerity. With that, Jiang excused himself, citing an urgent task. He began to withdraw from Jiang, offering a parting wave and promising to arrive at the Night Watch headquarters in 3 days. Jiang watched him leave in silence, perhaps contemplating the simplicity of the recruitment. He realized he had neglected to inquire about Jiang's concealed profession. At that moment, 2 men descended from the sky near Jiang. One was the 8th elder of the Martial Arts Academy. Jiang informed the elder that if his intent was to poach recruits for the Night Watch, he was too late. The elder questioned Jiang about the whereabouts of the individual who had achieved a divine rank in the creation class. Confused, Jiang turned to the elder, seeking clarification. The elder, with a look of astonishment, wondered if Jiang intended harm. Jiang clarified that he had no intention of allowing a divine-ranked creation class member to perish within the Night Watch. Upon hearing this, Jiang came to a realization about Jiang's divine rank. Meanwhile, Jiang ventured into the city, where a man named Uncle Wang inquired if he was responsible for the recent phenomenon. Jiang affirmed. A purple-haired woman approached Uncle Wang, cautioning him to speak softly lest they attract troublemakers. Uncle Wang, hand behind his head, acknowledged his tendency for incessant chatter. Jiang, with a reassuring smile, advised Uncle Wang not to fret over the matter. Uncle Wang turned his head towards Jiang and mentioned that even though the creation category wasn't known for combat, he had heard that companies often sought individuals from this category to cultivate spiritual plants. He expressed that Jiang's parents would have been very proud of him. Over the years, Jiang had managed to survive with the support of everyone in their building. With a smile, Jiang assured them he wouldn't forget their kindness in the future. Uncle Wang advised him not to fret over the small things. He also mentioned that Jiang's timing was perfect, as they were about to venture into a beginner-level secret realm to acquire some equipment. Uncle Wang invited Jiang to join them and level up together. Jiang accepted the invitation and expressed his gratitude to Uncle Wang. Shortly after, a system message confirmed the completion of their team formation. Moments later, Jiang and the group stepped through the portal into the secret realm. Jiang, hands in his jacket pockets, surveyed his surroundings, pondering if this was indeed the interior of the secret realm. Suddenly, the torches within the realm ignited, signaling the completion of the matching process. All the monsters turned their attention towards Jiang and his companions. This secret realm, known as the Temple of the Dead, was classified as C rank and was currently active. It promised a 100% drop rate for items and equipment, with experience points to be tallied upon completion. Bracing themselves, Jiang and the group entered the secret realm. Uncle Wang felt a surge of nervousness upon realizing they were facing undead soldiers. He questioned why the secret realm system had matched them with such a challenging dungeon. Jiang scrutinized the undead soldiers, recognizing the difficulty that lay ahead. A girl with purple hair approached, explaining to Uncle Wang that their assignment to a higher-level secret realm was due to Jiang's divine rank awakening. Uncle Wang turned to Jiang, reminding her of Jiang Chen's awakening in the creation category. Another girl, with brown hair, approached Uncle Wang. As she eyed the undead soldiers, she questioned the wisdom of continuing in this secret realm. Before she could finish, Uncle Wang interjected. Drawing his sword, he reassured the group that they rarely encountered secret realms of this caliber. He optimistically added that with Jiang's presence, they were likely to secure exceptional equipment drops. With Uncle Wang leading, the group prepared to confront the challenges of the secret realm. Uncle Wang, gathering his resolve, advanced towards the monsters and cautioned Jiang to maintain a safe distance, as these undead soldiers posed a greater threat than typical C-rank adversaries. Uncle Wang requested Jiang to remain behind as they pressed on towards the dungeon's core. Uncle Wang struck an undead soldier with his sword, landing a powerful blow to its head. He glanced back and urged SAUCEsy to swiftly enhance his talent. In response, SAUCEsy joined her hands and activated her power, which in turn amplified Uncle Wang's talent. This boost allowed Uncle Wang to vanquish the undead soldier. Meanwhile, Jiang stood at a distance, observing the battle. He pondered whether their daily confrontations with monsters were solely for survival. Reflecting on this, he understood why they frequently returned battered and wounded. Yet, SAUCEsy had remained his steadfast supporter. He knew she had taken up adventuring to fund her brother's eye treatment. As he watched Uncle Wang and the others, he resolved to gain strength swiftly and to express his gratitude with his future earnings. While he was lost in thought, the insect mother made her presence known. Resting her hand beneath her chin, she gazed at the undead soldier's remains and expressed her desire to consume the abundant monsters and blood. Jiang, hands in his pockets, turned towards the corpse with a smile, realizing Little Nine had already sensed it. Seizing the opportunity, Jiang decided to test Little Nine's abilities. He extended his hand, summoning a level 1 poison barrier skill named Corrosion. A cloud of poison materialized in his palm, and he commanded Little Nine to consume the undead soldier's remains. She expressed her gratitude, and the poison cloud advanced, gradually enveloping the corpses. Within seconds, the monster remains began to vanish, corroded upon contact with the poisonous mist. Witnessing this, Jiang was convinced of Little Nine's formidable power. Following the consumption, Little Nine's devouring value increased to 10 points. However, the low level of the monsters meant the growth rate was modest. Little Nine needed to devour more monsters. While Jiang had one hand in his pocket, he glanced back, reflecting on how Uncle Wang and the other two had become true partners over the years. They had quickly made their way to the dungeon's depths. Given that the poisonous mist was an area skill and Jiang still lacked precise control, accidental injuries were a possibility. To prevent this, Jiang chose to follow behind Uncle Wang and the others, dealing with the monster's remains. At that moment, Little Nine captured his attention, indicating she sensed something. Jiang looked to the side and saw more monsters emerging from the ground. Little Nine sensed freshness and blood in that direction. These monsters were level 10 shadow lurkers, with a strength of 20 points, agility of 15 points, defense of 10 points, and stamina of 5 points, lurking in the shadows to prey on weaker stragglers. As Jiang observed the shadow lurker, he pondered if its name was Red, because its level was much higher than his. Yet, with his skill enhancement united, these monsters were no match for him. A statistics window for Jiang appeared, showing a devouring value of level 1, his identity as the Lord of Insects, and his occupation as a divine rank spiritual master. He had 3 level 1 talents: Growth of All Things, Divine Evolution, and Ancestral Tree of All Things. Jiang was accompanied by the insect mother, Little Nine, also known as Nine Miasma Wing, of Natural Calamity level. Without any equipment, he had 35 points in strength, 31 in agility, 27 in endurance, and 20 in constitution, with a combat power score of 41 stars. His active passive abilities were Experience Return and Attribute Enhancement, with a current devouring value of 100 and 0 experience. Deciding to test his abilities, Jiang commanded Little Nine to transform into a poisonous mist and follow him. She complied, clinging to the ground as a mist. The shadow lurkers advanced rapidly towards Jiang, who brought his hand close to his face, releasing Little Nine's poisonous mist. He then charged at the monsters. As they attempted to attack, Jiang evaded and infected them with the mist. Confused by the poison, the monsters watched as their bodies began to corrode. Jiang watched silently as Little Nine's mist intensified, disintegrating the monsters. System windows popped up, awarding him 200 special points. Observing the monster corpses, Jiang smiled, realizing his devouring value was climbing swiftly. Lost in thought, Little Nine alerted him to the presence of more blood food. More shadow lurkers appeared, but Jiang remained still, hands in his pockets, without making a move. Jiang turned his attention to the monsters, and as he watched them intently, concern for Uncle Wang and the others grew upon realizing the dungeon concealed numerous monsters. Determined to swiftly eliminate these threats, he planned to check on his companions' well-being afterward. he questioned Little Nine about her ability to handle the monsters. Gradually, she materialized from the poisonous mist. Fixing her gaze on the monsters, she extended her hand towards them and assured Jiang that he could entrust them to her care. To her, these monsters were merely minor nuisances. Several minutes later, Jiang made his way to where Uncle Wang and the others were. Upon arrival, he found Uncle Wang severely injured. The two of them were encircled by monsters. Uncle Wang, gripping the sword with both hands, stood back to back with Xiaoyi. She extended her hands toward the monsters, ready to use her ability to defend against the impending attack. Gradually, the monsters quickened their advance toward Uncle Wang and Xiaoyi, preparing to strike. As blood from Uncle Wang's wound dripped onto his face, he clenched his teeth and, while gazing intently at the monsters, explained to Xiaoyi that they were becoming increasingly difficult to defeat. He reasoned that if they continued at this rate, survival was impossible. Turning to Xiaoyi, Uncle Wang instructed her to find Jiang and leave immediately. Hearing this, Xiaoyi faced him, questioning his intent. In that moment of distraction, an undead soldier surged forward, aiming to take Uncle Wang by surprise. With one hand on the sword and his eyes on Xiaoyi, Uncle Wang sensed the undead soldier's approach and braced for what was to come. He swiftly turned toward the monster, and seeing its sword hurtling toward his head, he tensed, realizing the gravity of the situation. Just then, Jiang intervened. He extended his hand toward the monster, unleashing Little Nine's poisonous mist. The mist enveloped the undead soldier just as its sword neared Uncle Wang, beginning to corrode its form and ultimately disintegrating it. As the soldier's body gradually vanished, Uncle Wang, now turning around, was both astonished and bewildered, trying to grasp the unfolding events. At that critical juncture, Jiang inquired after Uncle Wang and the others' well-being. Upon hearing Jiang's voice, Uncle Wang turned his head, and seeing Jiang clenched his teeth tightly, rendered speechless. As Jiang approached them, he extended his hand to one side and declared, "Little Nine's poisonous mist," which began infecting the undead soldiers and destroying them. Gradually, all the undead soldiers were corroded. Uncle Wang, turning towards Jiang and holding the sword in one hand, stared at him inquisitively and questioned how a creation class awakened could accomplish such a feat. Jiang halted before Uncle Wang, and as a powerful energy radiated from his body, he turned and explained with a smile that he possessed a hidden ability known as poisonous mist. After revealing this, he reached out to the sword and prepared to move. He reiterated his possession of the poisonous mist ability. Noticing Uncle Wang's injuries, Jiang urged Xiaoyi to swiftly escort him to the Secret Realm's portal. He added that he intended to remain behind to provide cover. This revelation left everyone speechless. Uncle Wang, with a look of surprise, gazed at Jiang and cautioned that despite Jiang's divine class, the situation was perilously dangerous. Xiaoyi, sharing the same astonishment, implored Jiang to accompany them rather than stay and combat the undead soldiers alone. As they conversed, Xiaoyi placed her hand near her mouth, choosing silence. Jiang turned away from them, and as his body exuded potent energy, he glanced back reassuringly and told Uncle Wang not to worry, for he would face no trouble. After speaking, Jiang turned away from Uncle Wang and the others. As a powerful energy radiated from his body, he began to slowly advance toward the monsters. At that moment, the system announced that the boss of the secret realm was being summoned due to the number of people meeting the requirements at the last level. While Uncle Wang watched Jiang move away and head toward the monsters, he attempted to intervene. However, before he could utter a word, Xiaoyi interjected. She turned to him and reminded him that Jiang was not one to act rashly, urging him to place his trust in Jiang. After careful thought, Uncle Wang decided to do just that. He tossed the sword to Jiang, reminding him to return it later. Jiang caught the sword, reassuring Uncle Wang not to worry, promising to return it. The sword, known as the Novice Conqueror's Sword, boasted 25 speed points, 30 strength points, and a 2% attack speed bonus, along with an already active passive ability. Jiang held the sword close to his face, his gaze fixed aggressively on the monsters. This was advantageous for him, as he could now extend the reach of the poisonous mist using Uncle Wang's sword. Activating the poisonous mist, it began to envelop the blade. The undead soldiers surged forward, attempting to assault Jiang. But with swift agility, he dodged their attacks. Wielding Uncle Wang's sword, he sliced through the monsters. the poisonous mist infecting them as they were cleaved apart. These monsters were no match for Jiang, the top swordsman in his entire school. As he engaged the undead soldiers, a far stronger monster gained speed and charged toward him. The creature drew its sword, preparing to ambush Jiang. Although Jiang's sword was not sensitive enough to detect the impending attack, a quick glance to the side revealed the monster's rapid approach. Jiang leaped aside, evading the monster's strike, which was so forceful it shattered the ground. The monster, now fixated on Jiang with a murderous intent, tightened its grip on the sword and lunged at him mid-air. Jiang, in a stroke of luck, managed to parry the attack with Uncle Wang's sword. However, the disparity in strength was too great, and the borrowed sword snapped in half, sending Jiang reeling backward. Regaining his footing, Jiang was taken aback to see the broken sword. The boss, stronger than he anticipated, posed a greater concern than the sword itself. Jiang fretted over how to explain the broken sword to Uncle Wang. The boss, named the Undead King, was a formidable monster. Rising to its full height, it glared at Jiang, sword in hand, with a murderous intensity. Suddenly, the Undead King's body vibrated and, in an instant, materialized behind Jiang, poised to strike. Realizing the Undead King's presence, Jiang was filled with dread, astonished by the boss's swift movement. Facing the Undead King, Jiang summoned Little Nine with a defiant look. As the Undead King's sword descended, Little Nine materialized, seizing the blade. She locked eyes with the Undead King and turned to Jiang, inquiring whether she should proceed to eliminate him. Without hesitation, Jiang affirmed with a yes. Hearing this, Little Nine's mood lifted, and with a mere gesture of her hand, she shattered the blade of the Undead King's sword. She stretched out her arms, and a formidable energy began radiating from her body, spreading in all directions. This alerted the Undead King, who, now swordless, resolved to attack with its fists. Seizing the moment of Little Nine's apparent distraction, the Undead King swiftly moved toward her, intending a surprise assault. However, Little Nine's eyes snapped open, and her form underwent a dramatic transformation. With a deadly glare, she fixed her gaze on the Undead King and wielded her tentacles in defense. Assuming an aggressive posture, she lashed out at the Undead King with her tentacles, sharp as blades, delivering a flurry of strikes. Gradually, her piercing tentacles began to dismantle the Undead King's form. She severed its left arm, then the right, and ultimately decapitated it. Impaling the Undead King's head on a tentacle, she spun around, and the boss's body collapsed. Holding the head in her grasp, her body pulsing with potent energy, she moved toward Jiang. Witnessing her strength, Jiang was compelled to smile, marveling at Little Nine's composure in the face of a secret realm boss. He surmised that with the Undead King's defeat, the portal would soon manifest. Little Nine, gathering force, alighted beside Jiang. Just then, an energy crystal materialized before him. As Jiang beheld the crystal, curiosity piqued within him. The crystal ascended, drawing magic from the fallen monster's remains. At this spectacle, Jiang stood in wonder. Several seconds later, the energy crystal began to glow, summoning a colossal monster known as the Undead Tyrant, which dwarfed Little Nine and Jiang by 20-fold. With a menacing gaze, the Undead Tyrant fixed its eyes on Jiang and Little Nine. Realizing that the crystal had morphed into a monster, Jiang pondered whether the energy crystal was, in fact, the true ruler of this secret realm. He turned back, his teeth gritted, and commanded Little Nine to shatter the energy crystal residing within the Undead Tyrant. As the beast focused on Jiang, it let out a thunderous roar. The monster swung its mace at Little Nine, but with swift agility, she propelled herself off the wall, narrowly evading the strike. Observing her successful dodge, the Undead Tyrant readied itself for another assault. It lunged at Little Nine again, but she soared into the air with a powerful leap, avoiding the attack. The force of the miss sent the monster's mace crashing into the ground, breaking it apart. Suspended in midair, Little Nine's expression turned deadly as she locked eyes with the Undead Tyrant and stretched out her hands, sending her razor-sharp tentacles hurtling toward it. She unleashed a barrage of attacks with her tentacles, but the Undead Tyrant nimbly dodged each one as if they were mere nuisances. Witnessing the immense creature's surprising speed, Jiang tensed, his mind racing to devise a strategy. Glancing at the ground, he noticed several plants amidst the rubble. Seizing the opportunity, he decided to utilize his divine creation class, the spiritual master. Focusing intently on the plants, he realized he had only one chance to act. Now Jiang realized that the undead tyrant was exceedingly fast, and each of its attacks was equally powerful. The tyrant hoisted its mace from the ground, gaining momentum. For Jiang, it resembled a raging bull that had lost control, yet this also signified a vulnerability. Little Nine attempted to assail the undead tyrant with her sharp tentacles, but it began to spin its body at high velocity, evading them with ease. As it gained momentum, it swiftly closed in on Jiang. After several seconds, it executed a massive leap. Jiang raised his head to face the undead tyrant, and while observing it intently, he realized the situation was dire. He had already detected numerous hidden roots beneath the ground. While airborne, the undead tyrant seized the mace with both hands and, as it rapidly approached Jiang, readied itself for an attack. Jiang, watching it draw nearer, decided to utilize his talent at the precise moment it was close enough to halt its advance. Moments later, as the tyrant neared, Jiang began to scream. Fixing his gaze upon it, he knew this was the critical moment. He extended his hand toward the ground, and a green symbol materialized. Harnessing his talent, the spiritual roots concealed beneath the surface started to surface. Jiang pivoted toward the undead tyrant, giving it a lethal glare, and stretched out his hand. In seconds, 4 spiritual roots burst forth from the earth, impaling the tyrant and suspending it mid-air, immobilizing it. With his hand outstretched, Jiang exuded a formidable aura. He turned to Little Nine and signaled that it was her turn. In an instant, Little Nine was upon the tyrant. She placed one hand on its head and with the other preparing her claws, gave it a murderous look and acknowledged Jiang with an "understood, master." Realizing Little Nine was poised to strike, the tyrant's expression shifted dramatically as it sensed impending doom. It attempted to defend itself, but to no avail. Before it could react, Little Nine surged forward and launched her attack. The tyrant's corpse plummeted to the ground, while Jiang, hand still raised to the sky, commanded the spiritual roots. He gazed upon the tyrant's remains with a sense of pride. He had triumphed over the undead tyrant. Jiang's prowess was affirmed. As long as he wielded his skills adeptly, he would continue to be a formidable force in battle. Engrossed in his thoughts, a system notification emerged, indicating that the growth acceleration was on cooldown for 8 hours. Consequently, the spiritual roots began to recede gradually. Shortly after, the core surfaced from the tyrant's remains. Upon its appearance, Jiang resolved to destroy it immediately. Just as the core was about to escape, Jiang approached and seized it. Clenching his fist, he shattered the core, and its fragments drifted to the ground. Jiang eyed his fist with a fierce determination, convinced that this marked the end. At that moment, a series of system notifications congratulated Jiang for conquering the C-rank secret realm known as the Temple of the Undead. The system commenced contribution assessment and, within seconds, produced the secret realm score. Jiang Chen, a level 0 spiritual master, achieved an S rating in this realm. Wang Yi, a level 12 swordsman, received a B rating. Jiang Chen, also a level 12 swordsman, earned a B rating. Liu Ying, a level 11 warlock, secured an A rating. Yi Qin, a level 10 boxer, garnered a B rating. The heavenly system initiated the generation of team rewards, prompting a window to materialize before Jiang. Moments later, the system successfully dispensed the team rewards, elongating the window. Jiang was presented with a selection of weapons. The first was a dagger, followed by a scepter, a heavy axe, a light axe, and lastly, a sword. As the spiritual roots retreated into the earth, Jiang fixated on the system window, lost in contemplation. He reached into the window and retrieved the dagger. Upon extracting the dagger from the system, its specifications were revealed. It was Edmu's Swift Dagger, a D-ranked weapon bestowing 50 attack points and a 5% speed enhancement on its wielder. This dagger bore an affinity with swords and conferred 2 professional attributes. Jiang grasped the dagger, inspecting the blade, and deemed it a worthy offering for Uncle Wang. He glanced sideways at the system window, pondering the abundance of equipment. It dawned on him that all the gear was tailored for combat. Uncertain if anything was apt for the creation classes. He approached the window, delved into the system, and resolved to scrutinize each item's attributes. He extracted a hammer from the window, and upon its release, it struck the ground with a thud. It was a hefty weapon. Named Call of the King, it endowed the bearer with 100 strength points while subtracting 100 agility points due to its heft. The hammer's unique trait was a 10% probability of inflicting quintuple critical damage. As Jiang endeavored to lift the hammer, he experienced a novel sensation. A notification window appeared, informing Jiang that he was being rewarded with experience points. Realizing this, he quickly understood that the system was crediting him with the experience gained from this secret weapon. The hammer was quite heavy, but with the newly acquired experience, Jiang found himself gradually able to lift it. Within seconds, he could hoist the hammer effortlessly. Another system notification announced that the United ability was now active, boosting all of Jiang's attributes by 20%. Surrounded by a potent energy and lifting the hammer with one hand, Jiang casually placed his other hand in his pocket and turned his attention towards the hammer, marveling at his newfound strength. Having reached level 6, the effects of the United ability became even more pronounced. He also noticed an increase in his physical combat prowess corresponding with his level. Lost in thought, Little Nine approached him, tugging at his shirt to capture his attention. Roused by her voice, Jiang emerged from his reverie. She gestured towards the system window, inquiring if she could consume all the items as a reward. Setting the hammer down, Jiang looked into her eyes, contemplating for a moment. He explained that Little Nine couldn't consume the equipment, as it was intended for Uncle Wang and the others to sell for money. He added that if Little Nine were to eat it, she would likely suffer a stomachache. Hearing this, she placed a hand behind her back and, with a touch to her lips, gave Jiang a forlorn look. Then, turning towards the undead tyrant's remains, she questioned whether she could devour it instead. Jiang had momentarily forgotten about the boss's remains, not realizing the value of devouring them. As his aura intensified, he granted Little Nine permission to consume the corpse, as it was rightfully hers. Without a moment's hesitation, Little Nine approached the massive remains of the undead tyrant. Jiang observed the corpse, pondering if the boss was perhaps too large. Given its size, if Little Nine were to use her poisonous mist to dissolve it, the process could be lengthy. Little Nine spread her arms wide, closed her eyes, and opened her mouth. Her body began to tremble, and within seconds, she reverted to her natural form. In her true form, she eyed the corpse with a predatory glare, opened her mouth wide, and advanced. Despite the undead tyrant's massive size compared to the mother insect's natural form, it seemed insignificant. Witnessing her transformation to consume the corpse, Jiang felt a mix of awe and fear. She lunged forward, her mouth agape, and let out a deafening roar. As she devoured the corpse, a fierce wind whipped up around them. Jiang seized the opportunity to remove all the equipment from the system window. Clutching the hammer in one hand, he shielded his face with the other. Little Nine's roar was thunderous, but fortunately, they were secluded in the secret realm. Had they been in the main city, their presence would have been detected regardless of their efforts to conceal it. After she finished her feast, the system awarded Jiang 400 devouring points. Shielding his face, Jiang noted the rapid increase in his devouring value. He realized that the boss's flesh was indeed of superior value. To enhance the devouring value further, they would need to consume more boss-type monsters. As he pondered this, footsteps approached. Hearing the approaching steps, Jiang swiftly turned and clenched his teeth, realizing that Uncle Wang and the others were drowned by the noise Little Nine had created. The devouring value had now increased to 8,876 points. Jiang urged Little Nine to revert to her alternate form quickly. With a smile, she complied, responding with an understood master. For Jiang, it was regrettable that the devouring value was not yet fully accumulated. Shortly after, Uncle Wang and the others arrived. Seeing the equipment scattered on the ground, they recognized Jiang's victory. Jiang confessed to Uncle Wang that he had broken his sword but offered the dagger as compensation. Without hesitation, Uncle Wang accepted the dagger. Upon realizing its rarity, he assured Jiang that he would not hold him accountable for the damaged equipment. SAUCEsy approached Jiang, mentioning that the necklace was also a valuable item that could fetch a considerable sum. Yiqiang queried how Jiang had managed to defeat the boss solo. With a hand behind his head, Jiang responded that his poison seemed particularly effective against such monsters. After his explanation, he began to look there at the ground. And now the secret realm had been perfectly cleared. It would not refresh again. Securing the devouring value from another boss should suffice to commence the breeding of the insect swarm. If Jiang sought a new boss, the desert was his only option. Uncle Wang regarded Jiang and lamented his decision to join the research department. Despite not being level 1, Jiang had already vanquished a boss monster. Uncle Wang predicted that with leveling up, Jiang's strength would be formidable. He then inquired about Jiang's current plans. Jiang, turning towards him, smiled and shared that he had withheld his intentions to avoid causing worry. In truth, he was preparing to join the Night's Watch. Uncle Wang, taken aback, questioned if Jiang truly planned to join the Night Watch. Jiang, hand atop his head, affirmed his intention. He disclosed his departure for the Night Watch in 3 days, intending to level up in the wilderness beforehand. Uncle Wang was stunned by the revelation. Yiqiang, hand to the ground, expressed disbelief at Jiang's perilous undertaking. SAUCEsy extended her hand towards Jiang, her gaze serious, warning of the wilderness's dangers. Jiang interrupted her, clenching his fist and summoning Little Nine's poisonous mists. He reassured SAUCEsy, asking her to focus her concern on the monsters instead. Later that day, Jiang boarded a train to the city outskirts. The conductor directed those venturing into the wilderness to disembark. Jiang alighted, cloaked to avoid notice. He paused, surveying a bridge crowded with awakeners. Post-awakening, Jiang's appetite had surged. Astonishingly, even without stability, his devouring value increased slightly with eating. He consumed a loaf of bread, his devouring value incrementing by 2. Little Nine appeared, hand to mouth, critiquing the bread's taste. Jiang resolved to procure tastier fare for Little Nine, conjuring a map with a gesture. He perused the map alongside Little Nine. Uncle Wang's generosity had been unexpected, providing not only the map, but also a vital storage ring before Jiang's desert journey. These items proved invaluable to Jiang. He traversed the bridge, mindful of Uncle Wang's counsel. The wilderness, under the Heavenly Way's influence, rendered electronic devices useless. It resembled an apocalyptic landscape, with monsters perpetually migrating. The maps, with their brief lifespan, made locating monster groups, especially bosses, challenging. Common creatures like the firebird and thunder rhinoceros were identifiable by their movements. A marked location with a question mark denoted a perilous nest, best avoided. Uncle Wang suggested the Goblin Dungeon as an ideal target for Jiang, given its lower level, ample monsters, and sparse human presence. Map in hand, Jiang resolved to proceed, confident in his swift discovery. As he pondered, a voice halted him. Jiang spun around, alert. A cloaked figure accosted him, demanding why Jiang had ignored his calls. The stranger sought information about a golden hired girl. Jiang, with a threatening demeanor, denied seeing her and cautioned the man. Suddenly, Little Nine's poison clung to the man's hand, prompting his retreat. The man, examining his hand, speculated about the substance. Despite Jiang's apparent low level, the man, a level 27 main defense warrior, felt vulnerable to the poison. Jiang, turning away, suggested the man seek a healer for the potent toxin. He also says to him to take care of his brain. After saying this, he bid his farewell to the man, and the man, unable to contain his anger, called out to Jiang, questioning if he had been granted permission to depart. Upon hearing this, Jiang turned and fixed the man with a lethal glare. The man stepped closer to Jiang, radiating a formidable aura, and with a menacing look, demanded to know how Jiang dared to cross the Zhao family. Jiang, upon hearing this, began to question if the man was indeed referring to the Zhao family. He contemplated the implications of the Zhao family's departure from their home and the subsequent handover of the house to the Zhao family in the Battle of Heaven. Upon hearing it, Jiang began to stare into his eyes, soon realizing the impending event. His suspicions were confirmed when the man attempted to strike him with full force. However, Jiang had anticipated this move. With a swift buildup of momentum, he leaped aside, dodging the attack and causing the man's fist to collide with the ground, shattering it. As Jiang propelled himself through the air, Distancing himself from the assailant, he placed his hand before his face and, with an aggressive glare, scrutinized the man, pondering over the Zhao family's identity. Observing the man's demeanor, Jiang recognized something abnormal. The man, seething with anger, clenched his teeth, and, fixing Jiang with a murderous gaze, charged at him rapidly. Drawing his sword, he couldn't resist commending Jiang for his remarkable speed. At this juncture, Jiang removed his hood and extended his hand, summoning Little Nine's poisonous mist. He intently watched the man and instructed Little Nine to unleash her full power. In response, she emerged from the mist, mirroring the man's lethal intent. The sight of the poisonous mist only fueled the man's fury. He bellowed inquiries at Jiang, skeptical of being intimidated by the same ploy again. Just as Jiang was about to retaliate, a new figure addressed the man as Zheng Tai, cautioning the need for discretion. Zheng Tai's expression shifted dramatically upon recognizing the voice. As he turned, fear crept in, and Jiang, now a silent observer, wondered about the unfolding scenario. A blue-haired man, hooded and irate, emerged behind Zheng Tai. His piercing stare demanded an explanation for Zheng Tai's presence, given his prior task to locate someone. Terrified, Zheng Tai struggled to articulate a response, but was abruptly cut off. The newcomer, turning slightly, labeled Zheng Tai as a troublemaker, and without a word, struck him, causing a nosebleed. This man, a member of the Xiao family, exuded formidable energy and reminded Zheng Tai of his subservient status, forbidding him from misusing the family name. Zheng Tai, promptly kneeling and apologetic, vowed to remember his place. Meanwhile, Jiang donned his hood once more, observing the exchange. Surprisingly, he hadn't detected the newcomer's approach, a man seemingly more formidable than the previous warrior. As Zheng Tai rose, the man approached Jiang, offering amends for his dog's behavior. Jiang declined, assuring it was unnecessary. The man then inquired if Jiang intended to venture into the desert, proposing they travel together. Jiang, after a moment of silent contemplation, declined the offer, preferring solitude. The man watched Jiang depart, musing over his intriguing nature and recognizing Jiang's awakening as a spiritual master. Once Jiang was at a distance, Zheng Tai approached the man, seeking guidance on whether to resume his search. The man turned his head slightly towards him and, peering into his eyes, he responded that it would be too late by the time he finished. Moreover, he had already discovered the clues. The girl they sought had fled the city and was likely attempting to traverse the desert to reach the nearest station. Removing his hood with a hand, he moved away from Zheng Tai and instructed him to prevent her from reaching the inn alive, ordering him to recall all dispersed servants and join him in the desert. Zheng Tai placed his hands on his chest, bowed his head, closed his eyes, and acknowledged the command with understanding. Humans had once spread far and wide across this planet, erecting innumerable cities. Yet, with the dawn of the awakened era, a deluge of beasts, secret realms, and dungeons began to invade human abodes, necessitating the continual fortification of ancient human settlements with formidable power. Presently, only those awakened seeking power venture back to these locales to combat monsters, ascend in level, and amass wealth. These places are now known as wild lands. Jiang set forth through the territory, encountering a swarm of rats en route. Hours later, he reached a desolate and dilapidated segment of the city. As he wandered, a sense of disorientation overcame him. His destination was the goblin beast's lair, yet despite hours of travel, he had not arrived. Night had fallen, and Little Nine, famished, hunted a rat, perched atop Jiang's head, and, holding it in her jaws, discerned its unpalatable taste, concluding she could not consume just anything. Jiang had encountered numerous monsters along his journey, but in this region, not one formidable beast was in sight. These creatures offered scant devouring value. Should Jiang fail to locate a beast boss's lair, the time required for his return would preclude him from wasting further moments, lest it impede his entry into the night watch. As Jiang proceeded, his gaze turned earnest, and he became engrossed in thought. Suddenly, the sky darkened with clouds, and moments later, rain began to pour. A colossal spider, hidden nearby, detected Jiang's presence, and as it descended from above, it fixed him with a murderous stare. Jiang extended his hand to the side, feeling the raindrops, and realized this precipitation was imbued with magical fluctuations, signifying his entry into a zone teeming with beast lairs. A surge of elation washed over him, for although they had erred in their search for the beast's nest, fortune had favored them with its discovery. Now, the sole task remaining was to swiftly locate the monster to fully satiate the devouring bar for the first time. Seconds later, Jiang glanced back and observed the creature's slow approach. They locked eyes, maintaining a silent standoff. Little Nine materialized, her gaze fixed intently on the beast, inquiring if Jiang desired her assistance. Jiang, lifting his head slightly, assured her intervention was unnecessary, as the monster's level was not elevated, its size merely somewhat larger than the others. Seizing the opportunity, the beast descended and readied its sharp appendages for an assault. With a lethal intent, it lunged at Jiang, who, with minimal effort, gained momentum and evaded the strikes with nimble leaps. Then, seizing the moment, he mustered his strength and executed a grand leap, materializing atop the creature, his fist clenched, poised to deliver a blow. The monster raised its head, and upon spotting Jiang, was struck by terror, pondering the unfolding events. Jiang delivered a powerful blow, sending the creature crashing to the ground, its life extinguished and the floor shattered. Amidst his contemplation, Little Nine made her presence known, touching her forehead to signal the arrival of more monsters. Roused by her voice, Jiang glanced aside, taken aback. The echo of his strike had alerted the other monsters concealed nearby. Standing atop the fallen beast, Jiang watched as giant spiders converged on him. He extended his hand, unleashing poison upon the monster, which was then besieged by the spiders. Summoning the dagger acquired from the secret realm, he and Little Nine faced the arachnids, ready for a feast. They exchanged a determined look, and at her eager affirmation, Jiang activated Little Nine's toxic mist. With swift agility, he assailed the spiders with his dagger, dismembering them and envenoming their wounds. Their power surged as they progressed, and the monsters turned their assault on the giant spiders. The horde swelled rapidly. Engaging these creatures on their return could yield 2 additional level advancements. Within moments, the monsters succumbed. Those not fatally wounded perished from the corrosive mist, quickly amassing into a mound of carcasses. Jiang beckoned Little Nine to consume the remains, to which she joyfully complied, extending her arms in gratitude. Suddenly, she alerted him to the presence of something formidable and appetizing drawing near. Turning his attention, Jiang realized the excitement in Little Nine's demeanor signified the boss's approach. He faced the direction of the advancing figure, poised with a lethal gaze, and commanded Little Nine to strike with the toxic mist. The boss's shadow loomed through the fog, and at Jiang's behest, Little Nine launched her attack. Seconds later, anguished screams pierced the air. To Jiang's bewilderment, the voice belonged to a woman, not the boss. His assault had inadvertently torn her garments, and she collapsed to the ground, unconscious. Observing her, Jiang contemplated the nature of this enigmatic being.